In the story of the American muscle car, slotted right in between goody two-shoes Ford and pencil pusher Chevy, there's always been a chain-smoking, leather jacket-wearing bad boy named Dodge. And nothing is more Dodge than Charger. It's the bad guy in the best car chase ever. It's the rebel of the South. And it's the anti-hero of the Fast and Furious franchise. Or at least it was in the first movie. No matter how you slice it, it evokes all the emotions that your grandma warned you about. And today, we're gonna celebrate all 7.5 generations of its history. Let's kick it into overdrive with the absolute badass that is the Dodge Charger. Our story starts all the way back in the early 60s. You know, when Squid was in high school. Dodge had earned itself the reputation as king of the drag strip. And even in the NASCAR circuit, the Chrysler Group was basically dominating everyone. Until General Motors rolled out a car they named the GTO. And it was faster!
Wait a second, what the heck? Wasn't that car in Triple X? What's with Vin Diesel and really cool muscle cars?
Dodge was pissed off. They couldn't just let that slide. They knew something had to be done to try and stay on top. Ford and Chevy were just about ready to show an entirely new type of car called the pony car to the world, with these two little cars called the Mustang and the Camaro. But Dodge was thinking differently. Different. They decided instead of making smaller lightweight cars, they'd start off with the bones of one of their big luxury cars and just add a load of horsepower and a cooler looking body. Not knowing they had literally just invented the luxury performance car. See, while Camaro and Mustang were marketing to the younger generation of boys and girls, Dodge doubled down on making a man's car. A car that looked just as at home on a golf course as it did out at the racetrack. And it worked. Just one small problem though. It wasn't exactly dominating on track anymore. That is, until the Dodge boys put the thing in a wind tunnel and learned a thing or two about aerodynamics. And it sold okay, like 30-some thousand a year. But keep in mind, Ford was selling over 1 million Mustangs annually. So the design team got together and penned one of the greatest looking muscle cars ever made. The first car looked good. This one looked great. The second generation Charger was born. For the first time, the now famous RT script could be emblazoned on your fender, which got you the good old 426 Hemi and a slick shift and 4-speed manual. Plus, beefier suspension, brakes as big as your head, and 420 horsepower, ready to attack with a jab of your right foot. And it sounded like you were being chased by the freaking Civil War when you'd rip it down the street. The big Charger made some even bigger waves in the automotive world. This was sort of where we first start to see where Dodge wanted to go as a company, and really where they still are today. It was a twofold punch. First, the Charger became a movie icon. Its more radical, gritty style made for a great presence on the silver screen. And a little-known movie called Bullitt cemented it as the bad guy. And I'm convinced that's why Dom Toretto drove one in the Fast movies. The second part of the Dodge master plan was to win races. I mean, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. Novel concept, right? And where did they set their eyes? Daytona, where big engines and going fast is literally a religion. So they made the Dodge Charger Daytona. And its counterpart, the Plymouth Roadrunner Superbird. And just started winning. Brad, I know I'm a Viper guy, but this Charger's really starting to grow on me. Anyway, the Charger was the first car to hit 200 miles per hour in the NASCAR series. They literally wrote the book on early circle track aerodynamics and created one of the most iconic cars of the era. Turns out people want to be the rebel. They don't want a cheap American Motors car or a chick car Mustang. They wanted the slicked hair, ego-bruising race winner. They wanted the Charger. The third gen wasn't a huge change from the second gen, but fight me on this, it just didn't look as good. The famous Charger grille with its famous rollout headlights was gone. But it was still a really competitive option, and it remained a pretty fantastic car until that magical time in American history where pretty much all cars sucked. 1975. To me, nothing exemplifies the malaise era more than the 4th generation Dodge Charger. I mean, here's the Rebels car, the bad guy, the fire-breathing dinosaur burning monster in cowhide, and it got turned into a slow, boring luxury cruiser with, I kid you not, an option for a vinyl top. By the time the 4th generation rolled around, Dodge, like every other car maker, was faced with a fuel crisis. Sort of like the one we have now, except the one that happened back then, fuel wasn't just expensive, it literally didn't exist.
There's no shortage. I don't believe there's a shortage.
So by 1975, for all intents and purposes, the muscle car was dead. In 1982, I mean, technically it's the 5th generation, but it's not a Charger. It had, get this, a 4-cylinder engine, which you could get with a turbo, you know, if you wanted one of the least reliable cars ever made. Oh, and it was front-wheel drive. Like, the whole point of a Charger is to do big smoky burnouts. And here Dodge was in the 80s with this little hatchback that could barely muster a one-wheel peel. There's one important note about the 80s Chargers though. Carroll Shelby tuned one, which was his ticket into Dodge, which was the ticket to stick his nose into the new Viper project, which after 87, the Viper became Dodge's true love. And they sort of just forgot about the Charger for a while. There was this kind of crazy as hell Charger concept back in the late 90s though, and I think it at least deserves a mention. It didn't look amazing. Kind of like someone tried to turn their Neon into a Ferrari, but it was bonkers under the hood. We're talking rear-wheel drive, 325 horsepower, and able to hit 60 miles an hour in around 5 seconds, powered by not gasoline, but compressed natural gas. Yeah, you know, kind of like your stove. It did, however, spark a new design language for Dodge, and you can see its design shine through on cars like the Stealth and the Intrepid, and those sold okay. So there's that. Fast forward to the mid-2000s, and Doge was in bed with Mercedes, who was trying desperately to breathe new life into the brand. In 2005, Dodge presented the LX platform Charger to the world. It was retro-styled, had a huge range of engine and trim options, and was an all-new way forward. But it was not really a Mercedes underneath. Okay, it shared subframes and transmissions, suspension components, and most of the electronics out of the E-Class. And yeah, Mercedes engineers helped out on the design. But trust me, it's more homegrown than most owners like to admit. You gotta remember, retro-styled cars were all the rage. It started with designers rolling out cars that drew inspiration from the 40s and 50s, but public reception made it pretty clear we weren't interested. Then they started building retro-styled Mustangs and Camaros. So just like the old times, Dodge went to work. And this time, the Charger would make an even bigger statement than it did back then. They looked good. And you could have one with anything from a reliable, yet reasonably powerful V6 and all-wheel drive, all the way up to the fire-breathing 6.1-liter Hemi in the SRT-8. Charger was back, baby. Suddenly, Chargers were everywhere again. And not just at the drag strip or your local shopping mall, even the cops started driving them around. And that meant the chances of you outrunning them in your Civic Si just went down the drain. Dodge did their whole give any production company free cars thing, so they end up in a ton of movies, even in movies that no one watched, like the Matt Damon movie where he's half robot. All while secretly, Dodge was cooking up the Hellcat. The switch to the LD platform wasn't huge mechanically, but the new 7th generation Charger, starting in 2011, actually received a ton of upgrades, mostly for the interior, but with powertrains as well. The base model little V6 from the last generation got bigger and got variable valve timing, which meant more efficiency and power. And there were a bunch of trims and packages like the 392 and the RT and the Scat Pack. Dodge even teased us in 2012 at SEMA with a Charger powered by the then all-new 8.4-liter Viper engine under the hood, a car they called the Charger Juiced. Name needs work, guys. Then in 2014, they rolled out the option of getting a V8 Charger with all-wheel drive. How cool is that? The real car everyone cares about though, and the reason you're all here, launched in 2015. The 707 horsepower, 6.2 liter supercharged V8 Hellcat. The fastest production sedan ever built. Yeah, baby. America. America! All Hellcat badge chargers are factory wide body cars, use huge 6-piston Brembo brakes, and can do the sprint to 60 in less than 3.5 seconds. In 2021, they bumped that baby up to 800 horsepower with the Hellcat Red-Eye. Then introduced this year in 2022, 807 with the Jailbreak. And that brings us to today. Today, Dodge only builds 3 cars: the Charger, the Durango, and the Challenger. And all of them come offered with way too much power for mere mortals, and the leather jacket wearing rebel underdog personality baked right in. Guys, when it comes to Dodge, a lot of models have come and gone, but Charger's been there through it all. And for that reason alone, it deserves your respect. Thanks for watching this episode of Overdrive. We've got a brand new episode with a brand new car coming at you every single Friday. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss them. This is Trav. This is Ideal Cars. We'll see you guys next week.